Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la syarikalah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh la nabiyya ba'da. Alhamdulillah, today in this beautiful day we are gathered here again today in this blessed place. So it's a very special occasion, and it's really, really good to see you guys again. It's always a moment that I cherish every time I see you. You know, this enthusiastic and full of spirit young people like you, and with your Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Is that me? Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Asyhadu an la ilaha. Okay. Sorry, that's some technical problem. So, but yeah, now look, let us thank Allah for this opportunity. First of all, really to thank Allah that Allah guide us and have this desire and enthusiasm to learn about our deen, and then second of that, let us send our greetings and salutation to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, today is very special because with us is Brother Ghaith Crime. He's the Secretary of Islamic Council of Victoria. He's also a lawyer. He's also an accountant. And you see him writing in the Age as well. So it's quite busy person. And also now the things that I like most about Brother Ghaith is despite of all of his time and jobs working that he's done, his commitment to the community is just second to none. And he's also teaching, volunteering teaching in madrasa. To be honest with you, I always said to Furqan and Abdullah, my children, look at Brother Ghaith. He can be anyone in a high position whatsoever, but always have time, to donate your time and effort and energy. Even like, teaching kids madrasa, it looks like simple, but it's a great contribution that I want you to get inspired from Brother Ghaith. But look, we are not here to talk about that today. We are here to invite Brother Ghaith. It's for a special one because of the current situation we have at the moment. The thing that we are facing is a Muslim community, and I'd like us as the youth to be well aware about the situation and to hear it from the first, results from Brother Ghaith, because he's dealing a lot with this current situation in his capacity as in ICV, but also with his lawyer background as well. I think he knows he can talk a lot about these things. So this is what we want to get from him. I mean, we want to get insight and also some of guidance from Brother Ghaith, and also maybe some tips about how to deal with this situation, especially with the scrutinies that we have to deal with in the community, from media, also from your friends or your at unis or at school or at workplace, things like that still come up. But we need to be, to know how to deal with these situations. And these things that are, the intention what we have Brother Ghaith here today. So, inshallah, without further ado, I'd like to invite Brother Ghaith to come here and to talk to us. Maybe about, 15, 20 minutes he will talk, and then after that, I'd like to be more interactive and we can ask as many questions as we can. Okay, Brother Ghaith, time is yours.
Jazakallah khairan for that very warm introduction. I just need to clarify one thing. Lawyers get a bit funny. I haven't practiced law for over 15 years, so I don't call myself a lawyer any longer. But I did. I started off as an accountant, went and did law, but I've been working in human resources and strategy for the last 15 years. So I don't call myself a lawyer any longer because I haven't really practiced in that field. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As-salamu salatu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Jazakallah khairan for the invitation. It's really timely. Actually, tomorrow at the ICV, it's the ICV AGM tomorrow. So this might in fact be my last official talk on behalf of the the ICV, depending how things go tomorrow. So I'm actually glad it's something local to me. I don't live far from here. I'm at Listerfield, and as Haji Edwar said, I do when I can. It's been a bit hard this year. Teach at the madrasa, and I think it's very important for us to do those things. I actually really enjoyed. I enjoyed the interaction with the younger people. I'm not a scholar. I don't claim to be a alim in any sense. I have studied. I'm about halfway through my Masters of Islamic Studies. So I don't profess to know everything from a religious perspective. So I'll share some things and some thoughts with you about the current situation. A little bit about what's happening in Iraq, Syria in terms of ISIS or ISIL or whatever name we're using for them today. But I want to talk more about what's happening locally in Australia. You know, what's happening in the media with government, the increase in fear and tension here, and just how we, just some tips on how we can perhaps deal with that and what it means for us. Feel free to ask questions, and inshallah, at the end of the talk, there'll be plenty of time for questions. In respect of what's actually happening overseas, I think, I'll just make it really clear what my personal view is. So this isn't on behalf of any organisation, this is just my personal view. Almost every scholar that I have any respect for has come out and said very clearly that what is happening in Iraq, Syria, is not what our religion stands for. Almost to a man, every single scholar that I have any dealings with before. I would recommend, if you're really interested, to Google a Friday khutbah that Sheikh Hamza Yusuf did recently. If you just Google Hamza Yusuf and ISIS, it's the first thing that comes up. And Sheikh Hamza talks about a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where the Prophet prophesied a couple of groups that would come into the Ummah in time. And I think it's well worth you having a listen to that because it is exactly to what is happening at the moment in Iraq and Syria, and explains the reasoning why the scholars have taken the position they have. From a layman's perspective, putting aside the interpretation and the tafsir of the hadith and the prophecy that the Prophet ﷺ made, just from a layman's perspective, if there's one thing that Islam stands for, it's mercy. If there's one thing Islam stands for, it's mercy. If you think of all of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all that's about the 99 names, what are the two names that Allah requires us to call on him most by? It's not his names of power, it's Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, it's mercy. It's the fundamental essence of our religion, mercy. And I don't see how anybody who can see what is happening currently in Iraq and Syria could in any way take that as being a sign of mercy. There's all these arguments about, well, we're at war and what have you. I've got two responses to that. First one is, I don't accept that we're at war. We in no way are stopped from practicing our religion in this country. We can fast, we can pray, we pay our zakat, we go to Hajj, we do everything that our deen requires us of. So in what sense are we at war? We're not at war. It's a nonsense. The other part of it is, even if we were at war, there's a hadith of the Rasul ﷺ when Walid ibn Khalid. So everybody knows Walid. He was the greatest of the Islamic generals, and he's still taught in Western military colleges around his tactics. And of course, he was one of the greatest opponents of Islam early on before he converted. During the life of the Prophet, so this is very early after his conversion, he was in charge of a minor battle, if you like, and so these are people. This is a direct fight. These are people they were fighting, and he and other Sahaba captured some prisoners, and he went to execute the prisoners. And some of the other Sahaba said, "No, we're not going to do it," and they protected some prisoners, and he executed some of them. And when they got back to the Rasul ﷺ, they explained to the Rasul what had occurred. And the only thing Rasul ﷺ did was he turned in the direction of the Kaaba, and he made a dua, and he said, Ya Allah, oh Allah, I am innocent of what Khalid has done. He said, oh Allah, I'm innocent of what Khalid has done. Oh Allah, I'm innocent of what Khalid has done 3 times. From that point on, the Sahaba absolutely knew without a shadow of doubt that is not what you do with prisoners of war. Right? The rules around how we treat prisoners of war are very clear, very clear. Right? And so even if we are at war, what we are seeing happening in Iraq and Syria goes against every fundamental principle we have in our religion. The other thing to remember also is what is occurring over there is impacting Muslims far more than non-Muslims. More Muslims are dying in Iraq and Syria at the hands of people who call themselves Muslims than non-Muslims. We've seen 3 beheadings in Western media. It's a drop in the ocean, as much as I hate to say it. There are currently, I'm Lebanese background, there are currently 23 Lebanese policemen held by ISIL at the moment. 4 of those police, well, there were 27 of them, 4 of them have been beheaded over the last 2 months. And what is it they want in return? They want the release of prisoners. So they are beheading Lebanese Muslims who they're holding hostage for the release of prisoners in Lebanese jails. There's no interpretation of religion whatsoever that says that's okay. None whatsoever. So that's my personal view about what's occurring overseas. It's having a direct impact on us here, without a shadow of a doubt. It allows those people in Western societies who already are prejudiced against Islam and Muslims, it gives them an opportunity to air those prejudices and to give them some credibility. Right? Because of the way the media operates, it's almost impossible for us to counter. It is really difficult. The big difference between what is occurring now and what occurred back in 2001, media operates 24 hours a day. It's 24/7. And so what they need is they need content. They need things to put in the paper. They need things to put on, to tweet about. They need things to put on their online, on the online press. So they will look for any small thing, and they will rehash sometimes the same story, just put a slightly different twist on it. And so you have this continuous machine working. I wake up every morning almost holding my breath, waiting to see what is going to be in this morning's paper, because I know there'll be something. If it's not a beheading, they'll raise the burqa or the hijab, or something about our Islamic schools, wherever the case may be. So what's occurring is just allowing them to do that. And unfortunately, we have politicians. I'm not going to say government, because it's actually both sides of politics. Right now, the only people in Canberra who are in any way speaking out against what's occurring are the Greens. Both sides of politics, the Labor and the Liberals, are consistent around this issue. Bill Shorten very clearly said we're in step with the Prime Minister around the anti-terror legislation. Labor's not going to oppose any of it. They're going to just vote it straight through. The only people who are talking about against it are the Greens. So what is it they're going to do? What are they proposing to do? There's some key things. Obviously, the first one is around what is just being referred to as restricted travel. So they're going to give both the Attorney General and the Foreign Minister the discretion. So it's a discretion, which means it's up to them. They can do it however they want to do it. The right to designate an area as being off limits, restricted, that you cannot go there. And if you go there, on the face of it, it means you're going there to commit a terrorist act. Right? That's as simple as that. They say, well, we're not going to make, we're not going to do it over big areas of land. Is very specific what have the case number, but it doesn't matter. Clearly the areas that they're going to designate are going to be areas in Iraq, in Syria. I would expect after that there will be other areas. I wouldn't surprise me if they designate parts of India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Where else are they going to go? What it means is if you want to travel there, right? If you want to travel there, you have to prove that the reason why you went there was for something other than a criminal act. They don't have to prove you committed a criminal act. The assumption is that you've gone there to commit a criminal act. You will have to prove that you haven't. We haven't seen yet what sort of evidence you're going to have to provide and things like that. But it really is going to be a real issue for a lot of people around. If you're visiting family, if you're going there for genuine, humanitarian reasons, while those exceptions are going to be in the law, it's going to be really hard to prove those things. What they're also doing is loosening the definitions of not just terrorist organisations, but what it means to, inverted commas, promote terrorism. So it is a very real possibility that if we speak out against Israel and what it is doing in Gaza in support of Hamas and Gaza, it is a real possibility that under the new laws, we would be considered to be promoting terrorism. Just think about that for a moment. Not only are they going to outlaw terrorist organisations and acts, what they're actually going to do is stop a lot of dissent, a lot of commentary, a lot of our ability to speak up against issues which are impacting, Muslims across the globe. They're going to have access to all of our data. So anything you do online, I would counsel anybody now not to post anything online that you don't assume ASIO or the AFP have. Right? They've got almost power to do that right now, but what they're going to do is going to make it easy for themselves to do it. So they will have access to everything you do online. They'll have access to, for a minimum of 2 years, everything you do with a phone. Right? So essentially, we're going to be in a police state. That's what's happening with those laws. And of course, the one that really impacts the broader community, or the only one that they're really worried about, is if you speak out against what's considered a special intelligence operation, so something that ASIO is doing, you can be jailed for up to 10 years. So if a journalist writes about something that went wrong with an ASIO operation and it's considered a special intelligence operation, then they could be jailed for up to 10 years. What makes it a special intelligence operations? The director of ASIO designates it as such. There's no rules. So anything that he wants to designate as a special intelligence operation becomes a special intelligence operation. So if you think about the raids that occurred over the last month or so, they would be designated special operations. And so if a journalist had written about one of those in a way that they didn't like, potentially, that person could be charged and arrested. So it's becoming quite, the laws are actually going to become very, very severe. So they're lessening, they're broadening their definitions of things, and they're lessening the level of proof needed. So right now, for them to get a search warrant, for example, they need reasonable belief. That will change to reasonable suspicion, which is even less. They need even less proof to get those things. So they're broadening the definitions of what a crime is. They're bringing down the level of proof they need. The consequence of all that, without a doubt, is going to be we're going to have more people arrested. Just logic tells you that's the case. If you make more things criminal acts and you lessen the amount of evidence you need, we're going to get more people arrested. And so we're going to have this cycle now where we'll have more people arrested, and they'll say, see, there are more people who we're scared of, we need to clamp down even more and more, and we'll go around in circles. Now, that's essentially what the government's doing at the moment. They're going to rush this through. So we've all put submissions in, and we've done all of that, but they're going to rush these laws through. That's just the unfortunate reality. And it feeds off the media. And the challenge for us in dealing with the media is the only thing they really want to hear us say is we condemn what other Muslims are doing. They don't want to give us an opportunity really to talk about the fundamental issues. And they beat it up, and they drive this hysteria out in the broader community. And that's why we've seen in the last few weeks this increase in acts of what we call Islamophobia, where particularly our sisters, because they are the very visible representation of Islam in this country, are subject to increasing levels of attack, abuse, being threatened, a whole range of things. And so it becomes a really difficult task for us in terms of how do we message things so that we try and hose down some of that fear and hysteria in the community, but at the same time continue to say the things that we need to say as a community to really protect ourselves. It's a real challenge for how we do that in the public space. And you would have seen various people doing interviews in the last couple of weeks where you've seen some of that play out. And of course we've got the whole issue around Hizb ut-Tahrir at the moment, with the government wanting to outlaw them for essentially just saying things. Put aside whether you agree or disagree with what they have to say, they have every right to say things just like every other Australian does. But it seems at the moment that freedom of speech only applies if you're willing to say the things that the government wants you to say. So how do we do? What's our response? Our main response has to be this, in my view. We can't pull out. We have to continue to engage back into the community. We actually have to be out there more now, I think, than we were before. Right? We don't want to pull out. We want to go back out there. We want to be seen out there. But it's a question of how we're seen. If we're genuine about what we believe, then we need to be out there as living examples of what the best part of Islam is. That's the best way we respond. Right? We don't go out there, yelling and screaming and frothing at the mouth. That's not the way of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's not how he did things. He's described as a mercy to all of mankind, not to the Muslims. Allah is describing as a mercy to all of mankind. That means that the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has a relationship with the non-Muslims. So we can't take this attitude that says they're non-Muslims, we treat them in a different way. That actually goes counter to everything that we actually believe in. The Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was a mercy to all of mankind. Why? Because we don't know who was going to die as a Muslim. We don't know. Somebody who is as close to Islam right now could do or say something in the next moment that will take them as far away from Islam as they possibly get. And somebody who, on the face of it, looks really far from the deen could be as close to the deen or closer to the deen than any of us in the moment of death. We don't know. When Rasul went to Ghaith to talk to the people there, and he was stoned by the children and driven out of the town, what was his reaction? And Jibreel alayhi salam came to him and he said to him, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Allah, Ya Prophet of Allah, ask and Allah will give it to you. What was he saying? He was saying, ask and Allah will destroy these people like he has before him. What was the Rasul's reaction to that? He said, no, these are my people. They weren't Muslims. They weren't even people of the book. They were mushrikeen, they were idolaters. He said, no, these are my people. And he prayed for them. He may die. He prayed for them that Allah would open their hearts to Islam. That's our attitude to non-Muslims. Our attitude to non-Muslims isn't that they are inferior or worse than us. Our attitude to non-Muslims is they are, each and every one of them, a potential Muslim who could be a better Muslim than we are. We're not a people of arrogance. We need to be out there, and we need to be out there in the same way the Prophet ﷺ was out there. That's our best reaction to it. When the media wants to deal with us, we're humble, we're sincere, we're well spoken, we're composed. When we're engaging with non-Muslims out there, exactly the same way. If you see somebody who needs some help, help them. This is the time when we should be doing those things more than before. When we should be showing them the right side of what our religion really represents, rather than pulling back and coming back into our shell. Because that's the easier thing to do right now. We're all feeling a little bit under pressure. We're feeling a bit anxious, a bit scared, and so we pull back. Actually, what we should be doing is going out there more. Go engaging more. Talk to our neighbours. Talk to people that we see in the streets. Just smile and say hello. Little things like that. If you're specifically in a situation where you're approached by a media, my advice is do not talk to them. Do not talk to them. Right? Rarely will they actually take what you say. Right? Generally, they're there for a very specific purpose. They're after a very specific response. So unless you already know what the questions are and you've thought clearly around what your response would be, don't engage. Don't talk to them at all. Our advice to even our organisations is, if you're contacted by the media, refer them to the ICV. Don't respond to them, because they'll play people off each other. That's what they do. They go hunting in the community for somebody who will say to them, the right words so they can make the next headline out of it. If you're in a situation where you were stopped by police, or somebody who is making themselves out to be police, the very first thing you need to do is ask for identification. You have absolutely every right to ask the person for identification to prove who they are and where they are from. From that point on, I would suggest you do not say a word. You have absolutely no obligation to answer any question. So if you are cold called, if somebody just approaches you and you don't know who they are, they've never been in contact with you, ask them for proof of who they are, and then say, no, I'm not prepared to talk. I have nothing to say. There's no benefit to you in a situation like that in answering questions. Again, they're generally on fishing expeditions, and you don't know whether something you're saying is innocent or otherwise. You have your legal rights. Contact, a legal representative if you ever find yourself in that situation. If you've got somebody with you, I would also recommend one of you tape what's going on. We all have our phones. All our phones have videotapes. You have every right to videotape that interaction with somebody who's coming and saying that they are, whatever it is, a police person, whatever the case may be. Don't get angry. Don't react to them. Stand your ground. Ask them to prove who they are, and just say, no, I have nothing to say. End of story. Doesn't matter what they ask you. And then go talk to the legal representative and say you've had the contact. Because it is so easy to get yourself in trouble without realising that's what's happening. They're probably the main points I wanted to raise. I think it might be easier now if we just give people a chance to ask some specific questions, and I'm happy to respond to some specific questions. My personal advice is no. I wouldn't. You know, if somebody, if they contact you, my personal advice is you simply say, I have nothing to say. You know, unless they're prepared to meet with you with the legal representative, because you know you don't know what it is they're really wanting to talk about. You know, remember these are security people. You know, it's not police. Different rules apply. Something which you think could be very innocent, in their mind may not be so innocent, particularly this day and age. And you know, often what they're doing is trying to find information about other people, and you don't know whether you know what you're going to say is innocent or otherwise. So my advice is personally that you never talk to them without a legal representative there. That would be my advice. Any other questions? Must be something burning on your minds. Sure. I think the easiest thing to do is there's an organisation called the Muslim Legal Network. They're online. They're on, and they've got Facebook. They've got a number that you can ring, and they will be able to refer you to somebody who's got some expertise in this area, because you can't just go to any solicitor in this area. The person needs to have, you know, some particular knowledge and experience in this space. So my advice would be just to contact the Muslim Legal Network. I don't have the number with me, unfortunately, but I'm sure everybody's on Facebook. If you just search the MLN on Facebook, you'll see the number there, and they've got a phone number that you can contact. Just keep it with you, and if you need to, you can ring them up. And if you don't get through to them for some reason, you can always call the IC. Just call the Islamic Council of Victoria, and we can do some running around and try and find somebody. Sure. Essentially, what the proposed laws are, and they don't specifically talk about journalists, so it's anybody in reality. Where there's what they refer to as a designated security operation or a designated matter of national security, you cannot report, write, talk about it where it has the potential to put somebody or to put that operation at risk, essentially, full stop. So let's say under the new laws, for example, Federal Police now will have the power to search your house without you knowing. Okay? The new laws say, so at the moment, when they come and do a raid, they have to have a search warrant, they have to show you that search warrant, and you have a right to be there while they're executing that search warrant. Under the new laws, the proposal is they can search your house in secret without you knowing. They don't have to tell you for a minimum, they don't have to tell you for at least 6 months. They can extend that period for up to 18 months without getting a court permission to do it. So you could have your house searched and not know about it for a period of up to 18 months. Right? Now, let's say I'm your neighbour and I see them do this. If I tell you, or if I go talk to the press, I could be charged. That's essentially what that new law is going to say. Sister? No, the laws apply. The laws are written in general, so they apply to anybody who commits one of these acts. You know, the reality though is they're going to be applied disproportionately to our community. It's just unfortunately the state that we're in. We don't see them at the moment. We don't see any evidence at the moment of them being applied to right-wing groups. So that, for example, you know, groups like the Australian Defence League and these sort of groups. If you have a look at the stuff that they post in social media, it's absolutely shocking. And yet, we haven't seen any evidence of similar, you know, response from the enforcement agencies against those individuals. Yeah, well, unfortunately, logic isn't always the basis for these laws. Their stated reason for it is that these investigations or these acts are often ongoing. So while they might be searching this person's house right now, the investigation itself may have a whole range of other things happening. So if you write about it and you make this known, it could jeopardise other things that they're doing. That's the logic that they use. The reality is, you know, rarely is it going. The only is those laws are actually meant to stop things like what occurred with East Timor. Do people know what's occurred with East Timor, between East Timor and Australia? Australia spied on East Timor when they were doing contract negotiations over the gas that sits between Australia and East Timor. A whistleblower from inside ASIO released that information. And Australia ended up, and they're still there, ended up in the International Criminal Court in The Hague because we did something illegal. What we did was criminal. These laws will stop people exposing things like that. That's really why they put these laws. Edward Snowden, WikiLeaks, that's what they're trying to stop with these laws. You know, we'll get caught up with it. I'm sure there'll be some, you know, some journalist or some innocent bystander get caught up with it. But the reality is they're trying to stop whistleblowers, people who actually have inside knowledge about the criminality, if you like, of some of these operations from being able to speak up. There are current laws, but those laws will be superseded. They'll be overruled by this new legislation. That's the reality. We have less rights this week than we did 2 weeks ago, and Parliament resumes next week, and there's another lot of laws before Parliament next week. We will have less rights by the end of this month than we did today. That's the reality. I would absolutely discourage anybody from getting into political discussions unless you're really sure about what you're saying on Facebook and things like that. Because if we go back, we don't have to go back very far. The young brother who was shot only a few weeks ago, Norman Haydo. What was the evidence that they had against him? And you know, we only get bits and pieces, but the only evidence that they had against him that made him a suspect was he had posted on Facebook some pictures of him with the ISIL flag. He posted on Facebook some derogatory comments about AFP and ASIO, and he drove around Dandenong with the flag. That was it. As far as we know, that is all there is. Nothing else. Nothing they've been released publicly, certainly. That's all it took for him to be a terror suspect. I know for a fact that right now, because I haven't cleared my phone today, I would have some of those images on my phone. It's the way that this stuff works. If you're on Facebook and you click on an image, or if you've got one of these instant messaging apps like WhatsApp or stuff, and you click on an image, it automatically saves to your phone. I know I'll have it on my phone. Right? So I would discourage anybody putting stuff on social media that, you know, could potentially attract the attention of the authorities. Yeah, so the time for submissions is closed. So we've, you know, all the organisations that put submissions in. I think the best thing you can do right now is just email your local member, right? Just send an email to your local member, just saying how shocked you are about what's going on, and you want them to speak up. And the more and more we can do that sort of thing, we might be able to put a little bit of pressure on them. Particularly if you're in an electorate which has a non-Liberal member. If you're in a Labor seat or a Greens or one of the other parties or independent, you'll have more chance of getting them to respond potentially than the Liberal Party. But yeah, that's what I would, and just keep sending them. Send it every day, every couple of days. The more, the better. There are, there are rallies being organised by various groups. I have nothing against rallies, provided people, again, keep the adab and akhlaq we have as Muslims, even in that environment. So, things like that I think will work. But the time is so short, that's the challenge. From the moment they put these laws in Parliament, they only allowed 11 days for submissions, and they'll vote on it when Parliament comes back next week. They're just pushing them through. Any other questions? I think that's what our focus has got to be from here on. We're going to get to a point, the laws are going to come in. It's just a question of what form they take. I think our only real response to it is to do things like that, is to be out in the community showing people what Islam is really about. And the more we do that, the more we engage with non-Muslims. So, I would encourage as many activities as possible that allow us to engage with non-Muslims and get them to see what Muslims are really like, instead of the only thing they get is the headlines in the newspaper and the images on TV. I think our whole focus needs to be on that over the next 12 months to, really get the support of the people on the ground rather than the politicians. The only reason why politicians do this is because they know it will get them votes. So if we engage with the average Australian, and the average Australian doesn't buy the headlines any longer, doesn't accept the rhetoric that comes out, the government will realise it's not having as much of an impact on their popularity, and so they won't use it as often. But at the moment they know, the moment they go out there and drum up fear, when people are scared, they don't like change. When people are scared, they will accept what governments tell them. When people are scared, they will give up their rights for their safety. And so our challenge is to show them there isn't a reason to be scared. I don't know whether we'll ever be able to eradicate it, but I think that's what we should be trying to do, trying to show that fear is unfounded. Yeah, in as many ways as we possibly can. Yeah. We've spoken to the state government about it, and we're organising a meeting between government, us, and media, like the editors, to have a conversation with them. We'll see how successful that is. The reality at the moment is media, particularly print media and new and TV media, is under pressure. It's under pressure to keep justifying, the printing of newspapers and news. And so they will look for things that they think will get them, sell the newspapers and get them people, their viewers. The challenge for us is we can pull back. So if we don't talk to them, it limits their opportunity to take things and make stories out of. Two problems with that. They will keep looking, and unfortunately they'll find somebody, usually in our community, who's willing to say something to them, and they'll use it in whatever way they can. Or if we don't say anything at all, then sometimes they just take old stories and rehash them. So we've got to engage them, but it's not an easy task. It really isn't, because they deal in very small blocks. Right? So if you're on TV, you've got about 30 seconds. So they want a 30-second grab. And if you're in print, they just want the headline. That's how they operate. And so when they ask you questions, and they, like we saw in the interview a couple of days ago on Lateline, for those who watched it, and it's been in the press the last couple of days, the questions she was asking can't be answered with a yes or no, in all fairness to the brother who was on there. And she was demanding a yes or no answer. You can't answer those questions with a yes or no. But they give the opportunity to say, yes, but there's all this other stuff, right? So it's a really hard thing. I guess our approach is we try to get as much as possible a number of people trained up in how to deal with the media and try and funnel as much of that through people who've got some training in it. But it's a really hard thing. There's no easy answer to it. There really isn't, other than I would discourage anybody from talking to the media if they just reach out of the blue. If they just come out of the blue, I would discourage anybody talking to the media and just keep funneling through, the organisations rather than do things yourselves. Sometimes we do. Yeah, sometimes we do. There's a group called Just Media Advocacy, which is an Islamic-based, Muslim-based group. They're often reviewing what's happening in the media, and they'll make complaints to the Australian Communication Commission and places like that. And there are times when they'll take it further. You're always weighing up. If you take that action, essentially it keeps the story going, or if you choose not to respond, it'll die off, and something else will take its place. It's always a balancing act. But there was one headline, might have been Monday last week. Andrew Bolt had a story about essentially had a picture of Adolf Hitler, and talking about the violent streak within Islam or something like that. A complaint's gone in about that particular article. I know what his response is going to be, and then we'll see if it's something which will get taken further or not. But it's a two-edged sword. It really is. Anybody else? There were laws in Parliament to be voted that week. This is my view. There were no raids happening that week. They needed something else to distract attention away from what was going on, and that's what they revert to. It's a nonsense. The arguments they're putting up about it being about security is just a nonsense. Everybody who goes through into Parliament House has to go through security, and the laws are very clear. If you wear the full face covering, whether it's a niqab, a burqa, whatever the case may be, and you're going through a security checking process, they, in the right way, so it needs to be female, are entitled to ask you to show your face. End of story. Once you're in Parliament, how can you continue to be a security threat? And then this notion then that, well, until we sort it out, we're going to put women behind the glass. How does that solve it if it's a security threat? Bronwyn Bishop, who is the Speaker of the House, and who was behind that particular proposal to put the sisters behind the glass, from a decade ago, has been on a campaign to ban not the burqa, the hijab. So it's not surprising that she would take that one. Our view with respect to the burqa, and part of our issue is we have people in the community who often go out and say things from a position of limited knowledge. Our view, the burqa is not a cultural issue. We need to be really clear about that. The full covering, right, is a very accepted minority position in Islam, that it is an obligation. There is a minority position in Islam, particularly within the Shafi'i madhab, right, that it is actually, you are meant to cover the full face. So it's not a cultural issue. It is only a minority position. The majority of the ulama say no, it's not a requirement. But there is a minority position, particularly within the Shafi'i madhab, that says it is. So we can't go out there and say this is a cultural issue. It's okay if you ban it because it's just about culture, because it's not. It's actually not about culture. For those people who wear the niqab and the burqa, it is a fundamental requirement of the religion as they practice their religion. And we need to support them in doing that. Right? We need to support them doing it, because if the moment that goes, then the same logic will flow for the hijab. I mean, we hear it now. They say, well, where is the hijab in the Quran? Yes, the word hijab isn't in the Quran. But it's just part of the problem with the way they deal with this stuff. They pluck things out of the Quran or Hadith and think that they know what it means. That's not the way Islam works. Islam works on a tradition of scholarship which over time builds up our accepted positions. Right? So we just need to be really careful with some of the language we use. But we will absolutely always oppose anything that will look at dictating to us how we should wear. You know, what does it say about a society that says it is okay for you to walk down the street half naked, but you cannot walk down the street fully clothed? That's my response. When somebody can explain to me why it's okay for a woman to walk down the street half naked, but it's not okay for her to walk down the street fully clothed, I might listen to it. And then when the Prime Minister says, well, I find it confronting, well, that's his problem, not her problem. If he finds it confronting, that's his problem. Why does he find it confronting? The reason why they find it confronting is because they're not used to a woman saying, my physical appearance has nothing to do with the interaction you and I are about to have. You need to deal with me purely and simply on what I'm saying and the intellect I bring to this conversation. That's not the way Western society works. The physicality absolutely plays into every interaction in their society, even if it's subconscious. And most modern men will tell you they don't let the physical aspect influence them, but that is their choice. When a woman wears a hijab or wears the niqab, she's saying to the man, that's not your choice, that's my choice. Right? This is my body, and I choose who to allow to see my body, not you. Why would we take that away from a woman? That is the fundamental aspect of feminism and freedom of expression and speech. So a liberal democratic society that says it's all about those things cannot logically say a woman shouldn't wear whatever she wants to wear. So, you know, it's a bit of a nonsense argument, but the argument isn't about logic or rationality. It's about fear and emotion and Islamophobia. That's what it's about. I don't know. I just spoke on behalf of the sisters. I don't know whether I said things which they may or may not agree with, but I'm sure they can share it later. Any other questions? Sister in the back? Yeah. Yeah. To remove your headscarf? Currently in Victoria, the answer to that is no. Right? In New South Wales, there is, but they can't do it in public, and it has to be a female that is with the woman when it happens. So they're required to take you to a private room, and it has to be a woman, and you would then need to take your scarf off and do that. But there's got to be a reason for it. The scarf alone isn't enough. Just the fact that you wear a scarf of itself isn't enough for somebody to say you need to take it off. Right? There's got to be something else. So if you go through a security screen and there's nothing else, and they still require you to do it, my advice is that you seek advice, and we would take that up, because that cannot happen. It can't just be the fact that you're wearing a scarf gives them the right to say, "We'll take it off. I want to see what's under it." That's not enough, and that's why that issue with the non-Muslim lady who was a cancer patient has caused such a problem, because they actually had no right to ask her to remove that, and they couldn't give a reason why. It was just because, you know, I can walk through airport security with a cap on. I don't have to take a cap off walking through airport security. Why would a woman need to take a scarf off? It's the same logic. Anything else? Yeah, we do, but it's hard to get this stuff out in the media, because they're less interested in the good stories than they are in the bad ones. That's the reality. Part of the work that we need to do is to build up the relationships with some people in the media who are a little bit more sympathetic, a little bit more objective, so that we can get a little bit of this information out there on a more regular basis. It's just something we just got to keep doing. We're way behind, but we just got to keep trying to do it. There is. Yeah, yeah. No, there is. It's not as easy as you would think though. But take for example the picture of the brother they put on the age, which was completely wrong. They're stuff basically. He to my understanding, is taking legal action against them, and he will have them on toast. Right? Something like that is just easily dealt with. The more difficult things are when they write stuff. It's a much harder thing to challenge. Sometimes they'll even put a retraction in, but the retraction goes on page 7. It's right down the bottom, and it's a much harder, thing to do when what it is a little bit, in a bit of a grey area. It's easier when it's related to a specific individual, like that young brother. But when it's just about the religion generally, for example, it's a much harder thing to do. Anybody else? Sister? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely you do. So we're trying to encourage as much as possible within our community to report everything. If it happens to you yourself or you see it, if you haven't seen it yourself, the police won't take it from you. Right? You need to encourage somebody who was involved or actually witnessed it to do the reporting. Right? But if it happens to you or you witness it yourself, I would absolutely report to the police. You can ring the ICV or email the ICV. Even now online there is a Islamophobia registry, which you can report it on. Because if we don't have that stuff being reported, then the police just says, well, yeah, that's what you say, but there's no evidence of it. So as much as possible, report. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. So I mean the ICV phone number. Actually, it's going to sound embarrassing, but I don't have it on me. We have somebody manning that phone normal business hours. So if you just ring the ICV during normal business hours, there'll be somebody there who can take that information off you. Email admin@icv.org.au. There's somebody there who will respond to that email all the time. And as I said, if the number for the Muslim Legal Network is available, and that's again 24 hours. So they'll get back to you really quickly with either referring you to somebody, or they also have some volunteer lawyers who can talk with you very quickly. So those phone numbers are all available there. I unfortunately just don't have them with me to give to, but we can circulate them inshallah. Anyone else? I know that all sounds a bit gloomy at the end of it, but I actually think fundamentally the average Australian doesn't buy into what is happening. I've seen enough things happen, enough emails coming into the ICV, enough things being posted online that says to me, all they want is somebody to show them why what they see isn't right, and they'll support us. And that's what I'm saying. I think we just need to be out there. We need to show them, give them the opportunity to ask us the questions and get to know us. And I think the average Australian actually would wake up really quickly to what the very small number. So I'm now turning back on them what they say about us. That very small number of bigots and racists out there. So and we just make dua in the meantime. That's all we can do. Right? Jazakallah khair.
Thank you very much, Brother Ghaith. Alhamdulillah, I think You know what, Brother Guys presented, I think it exceeded our expectation. I really feel like we are informed with what we need to know, and also the insights, some of the tips and like that. I think will be very useful for us. One point that I would like to underline is this challenge is actually also an opportunity. That's the way how we should look at it. This challenge here should not make us, being negative or being pessimistic with the situation. Look, the future is us, with us here today, and it's up to us now. How are you going to make most of this opportunity? Don't look at it as a challenge. It's an opportunity for us. I just want to share with you this morning, Alhamdulillah, with all these things that happen, a sister from Italian background, converted to Islam. Just because of these things, it doesn't mean it's all bad. It's not all bad. Okay, this opportunity for us. I just want to put this challenge for you. Okay, you're young, full of energy, and full of knowledge and enthusiasm. Let's grab this opportunity for us, and show them what is the true Islam, the mercy of Islam. That's just like brother guys have all told us. Now, this is what we need to know. We need to be out there, being visible by others. This is the true Islam, the true Muslim. This is what they want. We want them to see us just like that. Okay, so inshallah, thank you again, brother guys. And we'll follow up this this advice that he have given us. Again, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, Ilham, it's up to you next. You want to have a breakfast or you go? Yeah,
Assalamualaikum everyone. We'll just have a 10 to 15-minute break and inshallah we'll resume.
So after the live recording there. No, this one. So when people ask your question, you answer. Never said that. Okay. We did it last time.
Salam, how are you, man?
So just
Looking fresh.
in case we have a question and answer.
Okay, yeah. I don't know.
I did.
Yeah, it's like 10 minutes.
Ah, man.
See my sister?
Very good. It's the worst, man. You make me stand next to the flag out in the corner and take the picture. Like I'm in my face. But you haven't put it in we do. Delete all the photos. No, for real. Because I asked him, I'm like, what do I do? And he's like, delete them.
Bro, I need to go to the first. That barbecue? That barbecue?
That barbecue? Yeah, they're cooking now.
What are you cooking? On barbecue.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even, yeah, no, I'm like, I didn't even know if I could donate this. But you're not that. Like, maybe I go out and I went to one of the but serious thing.
Yeah, but I'm serious. Yeah? Like, especially the one when there's a meme you done. But that's not really about. Yeah, yeah, the one that really posted on Facebook. Nah, but I should be alright. Like, I'll ask her. I said, like,
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Because, yeah.
Leave it now. Leave it now.
I got more than
You sure?
yeah. Remember, I lost my SD card. I have to get a new one. Oh, wait a minute.
What are you doing?
My ad is gonna be sitting down.
You should stop sharing the stuff.
Because I understand.
They're down. The handle. Yes. Tilt it. Doesn't that tilt? Wait, you stand there. Go sit down. That's way too low, man. Let's say that shit. Is it streaming now? It's streaming, so it looks like you can hear this. Nah. You have to use your hands. Oh, that's way too low, bro. In live streaming. Can you sit down? Yeah. Not really. It's more just like for online. People can do it.
I'm just like, I don't know, I should be so much more away. But like, I'll that's not like
Is it great? Yeah. Which one's working? Is it? Wait, so just let me know if I need to go higher or lower. Do I need to go higher or lower?
I liked it pretty good.
Yeah.
What are you aiming?
Like this. Go. Oh, yeah.
Room.
Alright.
You see that?
It's actually pretty good, man.
Oh no.
What's it? Google Plus, YouTube, and
I don't know. Hanif, is that through Google Plus? Yeah.
yes, live stream. Like some,
People can do it from home.
has anyone commented on the?
Oh, we have 3 viewers.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. We have 3 viewers.
Is he watching right now?
Yeah. Plus. Sorry?
Really,
Yeah.
really helping us out.
That was 5 minutes ago.
It's a break. That's the endorsement.
We just went so.
It's reversed there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Oh, I can't actually use the same reverse. Yeah.
Oh really?
No, cut off, not that. Cut off in Spanish.
We need one of the ladies to hold one of the microphones.
Did you ride it? I was going to, I went because I got ready to ride my bike. Nah, I thought I could because I feel like I can bend you. So I went halfway and I was like, background with the car.
We could go for I was scared to be watching. Oh yeah, this actually. Yeah, it's almost. Empty hand, bro. Soccer. No, after your brother goes. I saw you shot me just in that soccer.
He's just getting close. I mean, hey, shorter and shorter day, but it's all like people have it, man. Yeah. I'm a married celebrant, so I'm a married celebrant. Oh, okay. Yeah, so like this morning I had to do a wedding before I came here to play. And also Ellie, sometimes you need to remain positive. Yeah. Tungguin ya.
Satu lagi topping biasanya. Enggak, saya... Assalamualaikum. Iya. Pak, enggak, ini loh. Hah? Enggak, sebentar. Enggak ada teman ini? Iya, udah. Iya, iya. To see any Dia? So is that there? You don't.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, everyone's gathered here. Thank you for coming on time. We will now resume the second, we'll start our second lecture. Alhamdulillah, we're able to get Edward to come, even though he's a busy man, you know. He's always willing to, you know, give time for MYSK and also lead these lectures. So without further ado, I think the topic is about marriage in Islam, so it should be interesting. All right.
Interesting indeed. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi israh li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Assalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawalah. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la syarikalah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh la nabiyya ba'da. I don't know why you guys asking me to talk about marriage. I don't know how, I'm not sure about how relevant is that for you. But guess what? Before I came here, I just did a marriage for a couple, one Turkish guy, alhamdulillah. But marriage is probably one of the things that we don't talk a lot. Okay, we tend to shy away when we talk about these things. For whatever reason, people tend to avoid this topic. Well, you know, even like if it is not only when you talk with your parents, you know, when you talk with the parents, you talk about, oh, come on, what are you talking about? You know, you're too young. Why you talk about these things? You know, even when you're already 24, 25, and some people, you know, the cultural expectation for us, especially from Indonesian background, is very different. I'm not sure about other culture. But marriage is probably one of the things that we tend to delay for whatever reason, even though this is one of the things that is we should, you know, think more carefully and look at it not in other, you know, from other perspectives, because marriage is actually a command from Allah. Just like Allah command us to do salat, to do fasting, to do zakat, Allah also command us to do marriage, to get married. Allah says in Quran, Auzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa ankihu ayyama minkum was-salihina min ibadikum. Okay? So this command of marriage, Allah said, those who are single, men and women, boys and girls who are single, who has attained the age of marriage, you should get married without any delay. Okay? Without any delay. To the extent that Allah actually says, وَالصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ إِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ, including those who are weak in terms of financial status, the slave, the poor, male and female. Okay? Let alone those who have their financial ability. And the beauty of this ayat is Allah said, "Iyakunu fukara." If you fear of because of marriage, you will fall into poverty. Allah will provide you min fadlihi, from His bounty. So it's very, very strong, you know, very strong command. And this is Amar, it's a command. So this command, the least you can get, you know, we can go to the literature, you know, the linguistic. But when it is a command, it's either fall into wajib, you know, compulsory, or sunnah mu'akkada, which is like, it's a sunnah, but something like this really, you know, a sunnah which is like enforced. Okay, very strong sunnah. Almost as strong as wajib. Okay? So getting married is a command from Allah. And we should not delay these things, because just like because you are, you know, when you are obliged to do salat, you don't delay to do salat, do you? Until, oh, you know, I want to do salat until I'm 24 years old. Okay, I do salat then when I, you know, start to get old and nearly die, and then I do salat. Or about Hajj? Yeah, I'll do Hajj later. Okay, after I retire. Okay, you don't do that. You do that to the other commands of salat, fasting, and other things. You should do the same thing with marriage. And if that is because you fear of poverty, because this is one of the things that stop us from getting married, from people getting married, because of fear of poverty. Okay, we fear of poverty because we always, we try to do, being mathematics, being scientific, and the way we are looking at things now, we're trying to add things up and think, oh, this is not going to work because I only got this amount of income, a wage. We put in the account. I won't be able to support my family if I'm getting married because of this. I only got this amount of salary. Okay, but not like that, because this is what Allah says. Okay, yakunu fukara. Allah here give you a guarantee, and what Allah haq. The promise Allah is true. Okay, Allah promised here that through marriage He will support you. Through marriage He will, He will help you, provide you. So don't think that the way we're looking at it, see always these things, but how many stories I have seen, people who come and approach marriage with all this, hesitation. Okay, and finally somehow, we managed to convince him to get married, and then the door of opportunities open up for them. Get a new job. Somehow, all the things that was difficult to buy a house in the past, you can't find a way to, to get a house. All of a sudden, this is just getting easy for them. This is something that you can't do it mathematically. Okay, because the help of Allah, the blessing of Allah will go through marriage. Allah will give you the blessing of Allah through marriage. Allah will bless you or make things which is probably like barakah. You know what the word barakah means? Something that maybe with $10. Maybe you can only go that far. But with barakah of Allah, that $10 cannot go a lot further. You only got the same amount of money, but with the blessing of Allah, with the barakah of Allah, that money, the same amount that you have, can do a lot more things. And this is the blessing of Allah, the barakah. And we can't do that with mathematics. With logic and everything like that, you can't look at it that way. Okay, so this is something that I like to encourage you, not because I'm a marriage celebrant, but because I want you to do this. This is a command of Allah. And Islam is one of the most sensible religion. Okay, it's very natural and sensible religion. Think about this, my brothers and sisters. Unlike other religion, celibacy is, if you want to be close to God, if you want to be one of the person who are the level in the hierarchical position in terms of religion, they said, oh, you cannot get married. You have to go against your natural desire. Okay? Look at the monks and the priests and things like that, to name some of them. You stop yourself from marriage. But Islam is very different. Actually, through marriage, you actually become a better servant of Allah. You can attain closeness to God by getting married. That's why Prophet Muhammad SAW said, "Man tazawwaja minkum faqad istakmala nisfal iman." Those who got married actually already fulfill half of his religion. So no matter how much you're trying to do your religion at the moment, you only can go halfway. The only way to complete the other half is by getting married. So sorry about guys, you're not in, no matter what, I'm better than you. Because I'm married. You can't argue that. Okay? Unless you're getting married too and follow my footsteps. Alright? But this is a promise of Allah. Okay? Man tazawaja istakmala nisfal iman. Already complete half of religion. And let taqwa complete the other half. Okay? Taqwa that will complete the other half of our religion. Subhanallah, this is the beauty of Islam. And if you look at those people, the problem that they have now in other religion by avoiding marriage, okay? And we, as a Muslims, how lucky we are, This is the religion of Allah, the true religion. That Allah actually, through marriage, the encouragement and the blessing of this marriage, subhanallah, everything that you do become, when you do that in marriage, and become an ibadah. You work and support your family. It's like, okay, you're praying. It's like you're fasting. So it has another dimension for what you do. Everything that you do normally, people do the same thing. But you do it, okay, and you with the intention, to support your family. Okay, it has this value of ibadah. Okay, so do not delay. One of the things that we tend to stop our marriage is we fear poverty. Okay, we always scared that, because of marriage we become poor. And I say, assure you that it's not the case, because Allah already promised us. The other things that also stop people to get married is because of unrealistic expectation. Okay, excessive expectation in marriage. Sometimes before we enter marriage, we try to put, okay, I will get married when, my salary can, if I can earn 100,000 a month, in a year. Okay, that kind of like with 100,000, okay, 100,000 rupiah, yeah. With that 100,000 wage, that I think I can support my family well. We try to make calculation, and some of them said, I will get married if I can, I can have like I'll finish my master's degree. Okay, I will get married with my wife. It has to be, my wife has to be, a graduate from university, and she have to be this, this kind of look. You can't kind of like put all these things in picture, and you make this requirement. Okay, true. Okay, and at the end of the day, okay, you think you can find perfect wife? Maybe you think you can, but it's do you think you can find a perfect husband? There's no such things. Okay, there's no such things. So you need to be realistic. Okay, and Prophet Muhammad SAW said actually, the very two requirements that you need to look at when you're looking for husband or wife is, the first one is akhlaq, so the conduct of the person is pleasing to you, and the second one is his religion commitment. Only the two things. If those kind of person come and ask you to get married, to marry you, and you see his conduct is good, his religious commitment is good, okay, and if you reject that proposal, Allah said, wait for the fitna, not only to you, but to the whole Muslim Ummah. Okay? So, this is two things. Sometimes we have from the experience. Okay? Marriage is not only, physical attraction is normal. Okay? It's normal. But this is something that we can deal. Something that we can deal within our marriage itself. Okay? We can find this attraction, because if you just rely on physical attraction, this physical attraction that we have, that it's only like lasts for a certain time. Okay, the emotion that you have you can only have that up to a certain time. So what you need to look at first, rather than just physical attraction, look at the conduct of that person first. Look at the religious commitment of that person, and that should be the main factors that determine your choice, your option. If this person should be your husband or should be your wife. Okay? If you just think because of his look, because of his physical stature, or whatever that is your criteria, okay, I'm afraid at the end of the day, okay, after a certain time in your marriage, you will regret that. Okay? So based on that one, because again, this is the guidance. The Prophet Muhammad says, this one here, not with his own nothing, because every word that the Prophet Muhammad says is a wahi. Okay, Prophet Muhammad didn't say out of his nafs, you know. Prophet Muhammad is guided with all the things. So two things that you need to look at. What is it? Conduct, the character of the person. And the second one is the religious commitment. Okay, did he pray or not? Does he pray or not? Okay, fasting or not? Is he interested about religious talk or attend the majlis, ta'lim, or zikr like this or not? Okay, when you look at that is the case, okay, that should be the mentor. This is one tick, tick, and then maybe you can look at other things. Not the other way around. Okay, not the other way around. You look at that person first, oh, cool. Cool. And then you look at the other stuff. Because the first criteria you look at is that one first. And then sometimes what happens is, the danger is, you compromise the other things. Okay, because you already are attracted to the physical features of this person, and then you are easy for you to compromise other things. But if your priority is that number one, the religious commitment, the akhlaq is your number one priority, okay, other things you can happy to compromise that. You're happy that make that things, okay. Yes, he's not very handsome. Okay, but look at these things. This is what going to save me in this world, but also going to give me happiness in the hereafter. After all, everything that we do in this life is all test. Okay, the true happiness is not. Don't think about the true happiness. You know what we're looking at here. Happily ever after. There's no such thing in the world. If you dream about that, I just want to warn you now. There's no such things of that happily ever after marriage like that. Well, they got married and they live happily ever after. In marriage, we're gonna have problem. But how people deal with this problem is these two things that are going to determine them. Okay? So think about this and be realistic. This life is only a test for us. Okay? This life is only a test for us. If you make these two priority, these two criteria as your priority in choosing who's going to be your husband, who's going to be your wife, okay, inshallah, whatever you do, whatever problem that you have, okay, Allah will help you, Allah will guide you, and will give you the true, the absolute reward later in the hereafter with the Jannah that's full of peace. Okay, Prophet Muhammad loves us to get married. Do not wait until later. Okay, get married earlier. Because this is what Prophet Muhammad said, "Tazawwaju wa tawaladu." Get married and have children, and you can only do that. Can you look? Do I scare you, girl? But Prophet Muhammad says this with the good, with that, because Prophet Muhammad wants to be proud of us, want to see us many in number. Okay, to be proud of Prophet Muhammad, like to boast with the other prophet. Look at my ummah, and this is true that we all ummah are gonna be, be a lot more in the Jannah, in the hereafter later, the Muslim ummah, and Prophet Muhammad would like to see us many in number. Okay. So this is one of the things when you do it, okay, number one, okay, you're fulfilling the command of Allah, okay, you are fulfilling the expectation and the hope of Prophet Muhammad and the dream of Prophet Muhammad, okay, and don't let those other things, okay, sway you and discourage you to get married. Just think about the way it is, okay, Allah already made this promise and it is to do with our faith. If you have a strong faith and you believe in the promise of Allah, okay? If you don't, so that's a promise of Allah, but and that means you question your faith, okay? I don't know. Probably that's my introduction. If you like, maybe we can do more interactive things. If you have any questions, please do so. Any? Yeah. Sorry. Is that the scarf? Yeah. Yeah. It's actually, there is a guidelines to that one. Yeah, it is. There is when the proposal is about there is a third person, you're allowed to do that. Yeah. But there is something like it's like said when things already, okay, almost to get approved. Yeah. But there is one of the things that you can do it. True. Yeah. Yes, Aziza. Yeah. That is the point that we had a lot to raise, because the first of all, that desire has to be coming from you. Sometimes we don't want it because out of our ignorance. We don't know that it's a command of Allah. We don't know this is sunnah of the Prophet. Okay? So when we know it's command of Allah, this sunnah of Prophet, even though we don't really pay it, we don't really have that desire. When you know it, okay, you should start, okay, to think about it. If you haven't got anyone yet, okay, you should start to look around. Okay, and this is something that you should, I don't know, whatever reason it is, there is, like I said, it is getting married to some people can be wajib, compulsory. To some people can be sunnah, depend on the situation. To some people can be mubah, which is like permissible, and to some people can be haram. Okay, so it's depend on the situation. Okay, so you have to look at that different situation first. If, like for example, physically someone is able, financially he's established, and then for this person, he's got probably, and then he's already got this desire to get married. So for him is wajib. Okay, but to some people maybe there's some other problem that they have, maybe they want to get married because of something ill intention. This person is haram to get married. But the general rule is sunnah, the marriage is sunnah mu'akkada, which is enforced sunnah. Okay, so but like I said, this is something that you need to look at. Do not delay it and then try to find excuses to do it, because Prophet Muhammad actually had a struggle with getting married is my sunnah, and those who are not following my sunnah, they are not one of us. Do you want to be called like that by Prophet Muhammad? So by saying this, Prophet Muhammad really wants us to get married, because this is a sunnah of every prophet. Every prophet, even like Adam and Eve, peace be upon them, they are married by Allah in Jannah. Okay, all the prophets are married. Even Prophet Isa alayhi salam, in his second coming, he will get married and have children. Okay, so all of this, inshallah, is going to be fine. Yes, yes. Okay, can I just, brother, this is a very important question. First of all, there's no such things of engagement in Islam. Okay, so, and there's no such things of going out, like try to get to know the person first and all like that. There's no, there is, of course, try to get to know the family and like that. but you don't go out in terms of, try to get to know, and then you're doing the haram things. Okay, so even though there is kind of like engagement, but that was cultural things. It's not Islamic. And the bad things about this engagement as well is people use this as an excuse for them. People use it as an excuse as if they are married already. When they say, we're engaged, so we can go out and, hand in hand, and then all those things that it's only husband and wife are allowed to do. So do not get, misled by this concept of engagement, because there's no such things of engagement in Islam. And engagement in Islam, okay, and an engagement doesn't allow you, okay, you're still in the same position, even if you engage. Okay, if you're touching your girlfriend, it's haram. You're committing sin. Okay, so do I get this? This, and so again, the time. Well, you can wait for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, and still people don't feel it right. Okay, there's no such things of, 4 years. They still don't feel like, I still need to know him more. What else you need to know? 4 years, 5 years. Okay, you can wait and then just to know one person, and then know in 1 week, and you know that this is the right person for you, and then why wait? If you know that they already fulfill this criteria, you look at the family and everything. It doesn't need to be that long to wait and to know a person. And the sad thing is people use it as an excuse, okay, for them to delay marriage and to do whatever. This permissive culture that we're living now, it's poisonous. I'll say it in a strongest word. It is, actually, what we do, it's affecting your family. It's affecting your children. If you start your family that way, okay, how are you gonna expect, your family life's gonna be, in a Islamic ways if you start it in a, un-Islamic way? So do not wait for too long. There's no such things of you have to get to know the guy first. Wait for that long. Trust me, sister, brothers, and it's not the answer. So do not wait. I have to make it clear. Yeah. Any more questions maybe from the guys? They pretend they're not interested. This is a problem. Okay, boys, come on. Any question? I think the things that I like about us, the MYSK group here is, I always see like Luqman is, this is a shift of culture that we are already starting here. Okay, with our background, like from Indonesia, we tend to wait. The parents' expectation like that. We want marriage. We want our children to get married after they have proper job, established job, after a certain age, like that. But things that I would like to commend Luqman and who else that's getting married soon. You actually are doing a jihad. You set an example. You're reviving the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by, okay, and inshallah those who follow Luqman's footsteps in doing this, Luqman will get reward for them as well, because Luqman is kind of reviving this Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, getting married. Okay, and those who follow him footsteps, inshallah, it's become a culture for us. And, I'm very, very proud of Luqman when he takes these things. Okay, so I'm just waiting who's next to be. All right, so. Okay. Look, first of all, with our parents, we need to find, especially for the girls, you need to get the consent from your parents, because you are your dad is gonna be your wali. Okay, so you need to have their consent. Okay, they need to have their approval. Okay, so if they not happy, Okay, and the reason that they stated is like a valid reason. Okay, what I said valid is sorry, you know, it's in terms of religious. They said, look, this guy, if you marry him, look at him, you know, I didn't see him praying. Okay, and his akhlaq, his manner is, you know, kind of like, you know, your parents said this, and they have this right, okay, to reject. Okay, but if there is a reason that they give you, okay, it's not like Shari reason. You can actually argue, and you know, you can actually explain to them, or this is the point. Okay, why I choose this guy. Okay, to the extent, if they still didn't give the consent, okay, and you still want to get married, okay, you are actually allowed to ask the imam to become the wali hakim, okay, and you can proceed with it. But again, as long as the reason that they give is un-Islamic. Okay, if the reason that they give, the excuse that is un-Islamic, is not like nothing to do with Islam. Maybe they said, oh, you cannot marry this guy because he's from, he's Australian. Okay, that un-Islamic. Okay, but he's Muslim then. Yeah, I don't know, he's Muslim, but he's Australian. Okay, all right. Can you explain that? Okay, so for example. Yeah. Look, Islamically, there is no solution. It's because there's no marriage without wali. Okay, without wali. And the imams only allowed to take over that rights of guardianship or being the wali on the ground that the rejection is un-Islamic. Okay, so you can't, there's no way that you get married if the reason is not on the religious ground. So the imam that you, of course, you can always find an imam who maybe can do it, but again, I can just tell you this: the marriage is not, the validity of marriage is not on that piece of paper. Okay, the validity of marriage is how Allah look at it, halal, and this is in the eyes of Allah. Maybe you can still get married and get that piece of paper, the certificate of marriage, but is that valid in the eyes of Allah? So is your relationship with them become halal? Because maybe in the eyes of Allah, your marriage is not halal. So just make sure that do not shop around and try to find imam just because you want to get away from that situation. But the best is, find someone with us two things first. Do not base, and because like I said, this life is too short. If you just base this life just on this, material, physical attraction like that, it's not going to bring you happiness. Trust me. Okay, inshallah, I hope that answered your question. Yeah. Yeah, look, both ways. So those, number one, of course, the priority, those people who already found someone, and you know already that you're gonna marry this person. Okay, you already decided that it's gonna be this person that you want to marry. For example, this is a situation that they have boyfriend and girlfriend like that. Even though you only look at it from, but when you know that you're going to marry this person, why wait? Okay, why wait? And thus, the next one is those people who haven't got anyone yet. Okay, and then you should start to look around. Okay, you should look at this one as, you know, like I said, hang on, I'm of marriageable age. Okay, you know, rather than, you know, especially for the guys, you know, the temptation that we have is part of our natural, we were born with. Okay, so why wait? Why not, you know, if you already, you know, if you already got this, you attain this age of marriage, and you have the ability, why wait? So, okay, if you haven't got someone yet, go around, you know, have a look, ask, or maybe you need some intervention from your parents, or from your aunties, from your friend. Go and ask. Yeah. Yes, Melissa. Yeah, look, that's a good question. So in Australia, the marriageable age is 18. Okay, so when you pass 18, that's one of the things. There's mentally you're ready. This is a very hard question. It's because everyone's got different stage of, you know, they attain maturity and all of that will be different. But obviously, when you're mentally ready, you should not wait. It's more like, you know, this is something that we have to be. But again, this this readiness, it really depends on, you know, your knowledge, depending on your interaction with others, things like that. So you don't just wait, oh, I'm not mentally ready yet, so you just can't be bothered like that. You don't just being passive like that. Okay, it is something that we actually can acquire through our learning, through our, you know, social interaction with others, like that. Okay, so inshallah. All right. Any more? I wonder, there's still one questions from the boy. Come on. Come on, boys. All right. Any? Ah, good. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. 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 Like, first of all, we need to look at it from both perspectives. You know, like from parents' perspective. Like I said, you know, we were born, you know, we are raised with this different culture, different expectations. But you know, one of the things which is the noble thing your parents should do, and not only, let's put it this way, one of the noble things we should do is, if you've got the financial ability, if you find someone who wants to get married, but they don't have the financial ability to get married, okay, you should give sadaqah to this person rather than give sadaqah to the people who, you know, who raise their hand and waiting for you to go on the side of the street. Think about this. When you give sadaqah to this person who wants it, desperately wants to get married, but they don't have the financial ability to do it, and then you support them, you make them, you know, you give them the ability to get married, you make them, you know, everything that they do, you get the reward from Allah in marriage. This is something, a noble thing that they do because of you. Their relationship with a husband and wife become halal. Okay, so supporting, sponsoring someone to get married is something that probably we never heard about. But you know, how many people in Indonesia that couldn't get married because they don't have the financial ability? Okay, so if you can do this to other people, get them, give them a little bit of money so he can start something to, to support themselves. Okay, that's a good thing to do. If we can do that to other people to support them, as a parent, I will do that to support my children. If they want to get married and they don't have the financial ability to do that, and I have the ability to do it personally, I will tell them to get married. Did you hear that? Okay, I will support them to get married, okay, and sponsor them until they are able to help themselves. Because for me, this is a noble thing to do. This is something noble that I'd like them to do because I want to protect them from committing zina. Okay, I want to protect. I don't want, because of I stop them from getting married and then they're doing zina and I'm standing in the way for them to get married. Okay, they're walking out and hanging with their girlfriends and like that, and I'm the one actually that preventing them from getting married, and they're committing zina. I will take the share of that sin. Okay, so for me as a parent, okay, if my children do it like that, okay, wants to get married and I have the financial ability to do it, I'm more than happy to support them and sponsor them. The unfortunate things about this is the mindsets of our parents. Most of our parents is not like that. This is something that we need, our homework for us. Something that we need to, we need to educate our parents. We need to show them these things. And of course, you have to do it with akhlaq. You have to show them this is, to do with all the respects, try to sway their opinion. That what the stance, the way they're looking at the thing is not the correct way. Because parents are happy to see the children doing zina, like not in a major zina. Seriously, the permissive things, they're happy to see the children going out, boys and girls. True? They're happy to that. And then the children said, oh, mom, we want to get married. What are you talking about? You're not 25 yet. Okay, wait until you're 30. Okay, and that's another years of zina, another 5 years of zina. And do you think they're not, committing sin? Okay, so we need to be realistic and look at this in the light of our religion. Okay, well, the way we look at it is very cultural, but you should avoid this. Put these cultural things aside, especially in Australia. Look. If your parents can support you and they're happy for you to, to live in their room, in their house, okay, that should be not a problem. And especially us in Australia, we got this, if you're married and you come, your income, and you got the support from the government too. And look, I said I didn't say like encourage you to do that. I don't have to do work then, but no, we have to try them. The thing is, once you get married, when you have the responsibility, it will encourage you to work harder. It will encourage you to finish your study earlier. Okay, it will encourage you to have more motivation to do more. And with this words, inshallah, Allah helps will come too. Okay, so do not discourage us this. Like I said, this is something that maybe you didn't think before, but because of marriage, and then you're kind of forced to be creative. You're just forced to be more adventurer, okay, in your endeavor to finding a better job, and all of these things because of this barakah, inshallah. So, with the way we look at it, so we just feel things are going normal, and we don't really get, enough push to work harder. Okay, does it make sense? I think yeah. I hope it answer your question. Okay, another question from the boy girls there. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. That's a hard question. To be honest with you, I didn't really think about that before I enter marriage. I'm being honest. Okay, but when I give like a marriage counseling to those people who wants to get married, that's one of the things that I always mention to them. But if you ask my personal experience, I didn't really like make think a lot about the things. Okay, I didn't think a lot about the things. But look, one of the things the right of our children is we need to find for them like a righteous mother. So this is one of the things. This is the first obligation. So that's why, also for you girls, okay, you need to find the husband that you know that can guide you. Also, the boy, you need to find that you find a mother that can educate, that can raise your children in Islamically. So this is the first thing that you need to look at when you're aspiring. And these things here, I'm looking at marriage. It's not like one of the things like the husband is like the driver. You follow me and things like that. It's not like that. I'm the boss, and it's not like that. This is the word kawamu. If you hear the Numan Ali Khan, the way he explained things, it's more than just being a leader or being the boss. You actually, kind of like a very big word that is actually, when you look at it, subhanAllah, the choice of word that Allah used there, the word kawamu, you protect, you educate, you provide, and things like this. Okay, it's more about responsibilities. It's not about the right, I'm the boss, and then you listen to me, follow me, obey me. You don't have the words. It's not like that. So it's more, marriage is like where this is, it's a teamwork. When you find the right husband, you find the right wife, this teamwork is going to happen. Okay, and that is where you have this communication. Okay, what sort of children you want to raise. Okay, a lot you can't do it on your own. Have to be a partnership with your wife. That's why it's very important that we have, the husband, the wives that you're looking for. It's something like it just happened, when you have the right ingredients. Okay. Yes. Look, put that way. This is the right of our children, that we find for them the right wives and the right husband. It is the right of our children. That it's very important for us. Inshallah, all of these things, don't be too technical. Don't be too technical. But you got all the basic things. Everything else going to fall into places, just like like that. Okay. Inshallah. Is there anything else? I think I've talked too much today. Yeah, inshallah, this is beneficial for all of us. I hope it inspire you. Give you ideas about how to live your lives, especially marriage life, and everything that I said, it is the right thing. It's from Allah. With the help of Allah, the guidance of Allah. If it is the wrong thing, is my own mistakes and shortcomings and my ignorance. So I ask Allah to forgive me for that. Barakallahu li wa lakum bil ayati wa dhikril hakim. Taqabbal minni wa minkum tilawatu innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much for Edward for leading the interesting discussion about marriage. Right now the barbecue's cooking, so if you guys want to make yourselves outside and eat some lamb chops and stuff.
Great. Is that timing?
Yeah, good timing. Yeah, just cooked.
Yeah, so it's cooking.